Welcome to Book Summary Podcast, your gateway to personal transformation. Each episode delivers big ideas from the world's most impactful books on mindset, productivity, and success, all in just a few minutes. Ready to turn knowledge into action? Let's get started.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. If you ask most people today, what does a millionaire look like? They'll probably paint you a picture.
Oh, absolutely. It's the fancy suit, the brand new European sports car.
Expensive watch, definitely. It's sort of the image of success we all see.
Yeah, but that image, it's what the sources we looked at call the great American myth of wealth, or sometimes big hat, no cattle.
Big hat, no cattle. I like that.
It fits perfectly. Think about that trust officer example they give. Drives the nice leased car, wears the $5,000 watch.
Looks the part.
Totally. But then you peek at their actual balance sheet and, well, it's often surprisingly thin. They spend a lot to look wealthy, but they haven't actually, built up the assets.
And that difference, that's really what we're digging into today, isn't it? Because the reality of who is wealthy, it's often, kind of shocking in how normal it is.
Exactly. It's much more down to earth, like the example of Ms. T and her husband.
Right. Their life is described as, pretty ordinary, mundane even.
Yeah. It is. She wears a Timex watch. He wears a Seiko. And interestingly, Seiko is apparently the most common watch brand among actual millionaires.
No kidding. Not Rolex.
Nope. Seiko. And they shop at places like Dillard's, JCPenney, TJ Maxx.
Okay, so regular department stores.
Yeah. And they drive Fords or, similar American cars. They're home, modest, maybe worth around $275,000. And importantly, it's paid off.
And here's the kicker, right? Misty and her husband, despite all this, they are millionaires, financially independent.
Truly. And they didn't get there through some lucky break or a big inheritance. It was self-discipline, hard work, perseverance, and a whole lot of planning.
So that's our goal for this deep dive, unpacking those habits, the behaviors that really separate the people who accumulate wealth from those who just spend a high income.
Because wealth ultimately is what you accumulate, what you keep, not what you spend. And, even though there's massive wealth in America, trillions, only about 3.5% of households actually hit that millionaire mark, net worth of $1 million plus.
Wow, only 3.5%. That's tiny.
It is. And think about what that implies. You've got millions of people earning really good money, doctors, lawyers, executives.
Well, they're earners.
Right. But they're effectively living paycheck to paycheck. Their spending just expands to soak up whatever income they make. They play, as the sources say, fantastic offense, earning a lot, but terrible defense. No savings discipline.
Okay, so let's start there. Redefining wealth, section 1.
Yeah. The first step is just getting the terms straight. Wealth versus income. They are not the same thing.
Right. Income is just the money coming in each year, right?
Yeah.
And if you spend it all...
then you're just living high, as they put it. You're not building wealth.
And I think that's where a lot of confusion comes in. People see a six-figure salary and think, oh, they must be rich.
But wealth, true wealth in this context, it's about financial independence. Can you maintain your lifestyle for years, maybe indefinitely, without earning that next paycheck?
That's the real test.
That's the cattle behind the big hat. So let's look at the data. Who is this typical millionaire next door? The profile, honestly, it kind of shatters most stereotypes.
Okay, lay it on us. What does the data say?
Well, typically it's a 57-year-old male, and get this, 95% are married. Usually to the same person for most of their adult life.
Wow, 95% married? That points to stability, doesn't it, in the household, in decision-making?
It really seems to. And then look at their jobs. This stat is pretty staggering. 2/3 of working millionaires, they're self-employed.
It's 2/3. But self-employed people are what, less than 20% of the workforce overall?
Exactly. So they're hugely overrepresented among millionaires. That link between being your own boss and building wealth seems incredibly strong.
And are these all tech startup founders?
Or not usually, no. 3 out of 4 of these self-employed millionaires are entrepreneurs, yes, but often in what the sources call dull normal industries.
Dull normal? Like what?
Like welding contractors, pest controllers, auctioneers, rice farmers, people who own mobile home parks, things that aren't necessarily glamorous.
But they offer control.
Precisely. Control over cash flow, taxes, investment choices, things you just don't get as a corporate employee. They're not trying to impress stockholders with flashy appearances.
Okay, so what about the actual money? Income, net worth?
Right. The median annual realized income, that's the taxable income, is $131,000.
Okay. Comfortable, but maybe not what people imagine for a millionaire.
Right. The average income is higher, like $247,000, but that gets pulled way up by the super rich, the multi-multimillionaires. The median gives you a better picture of the typical person.
And their net worth.
Median net worth is $1.6 million. Again, the average is higher, $3.7 million, skewed by the outliers.
Got it. So 131K income, $1.06 of net worth, typically.
But here's the really crucial ratio. You need to focus on this one. On average, their total annual realized income is less than 7% of their total wealth.
Wait, say that again? Less than 7%?
Yes, less than 7%.
Okay, break that down. So if someone has, say, $2 million in net worth.
They're only taking about $140,000 or less in taxable income from all sources: salary, dividends, interest, everything.
They're living on a tiny fraction of their accumulated wealth.
Exactly. The person who's high income but not wealthy, they realize 100% of their income, maybe even more if they're using debt. But the PAW, the prodigious accumulator of wealth, they structure things so they don't need to touch the principal.
They live off the returns, the income their assets generate.
That's financial stability. That's the goal.
And this isn't usually inherited money, right?
Overwhelmingly not. Over 80% are first-generation affluent. They built it themselves. Slowly, steadily. No big lottery wins or trust funds for most of them.
So these are habits anyone could potentially adopt.
That's the implication, yes. They're builders.
What about their homes? You mentioned Modesty before.
Yeah, 97% are homeowners. Average home value around $320,000. And crucially, about half have lived in that same house for over 20 years.
20 years. So they're not constantly upgrading, paying realtor fees, moving costs.
Nope. They bought something reasonable, stayed put, let it appreciate, and focus their extra cash on investments, not bigger mortgages.
Okay, and investments. What do they invest in? Is it all stocks?
Surprisingly, no. You might think that, but typically only about 20 to 25% of their wealth is in publicly traded stocks.
Really? That low? I thought the advice was always max out stock market exposure.
Well, it speaks to their desire for control again. Remember, many are business owners. So for them, diversification means owning their own business, maybe some private equity, real estate they understand, perhaps lending money privately.
The things they feel they have more direct influence over.
Exactly. You can't control the S&P 500, but you can control the efficiency of your own company or, the rent you charge on an investment property. It's a different mindset.
Okay, so we've got the profile. They earn well, often run their own show. But the real magic seems to be on the spending side, the defense.
That's it. Frugality isn't just like a nice-to-have trait for them. It's fundamental. It's the bedrock of how they built their wealth.
And their actual consumption habits, they just fly in the face of all of the luxury marketing we see, don't they?
Completely. Let's look at some specific things, the artifacts. Start with watches. You picture what, gold? Diamonds?
Yeah, something flashy, expensive.
Forget it. Half of the millionaires surveyed never spent more than $235 on a watch. Ever.
$235. Max.
Max, for half of them. And a full quarter of them never spent more than $100.
Wow. So they're buying a tool to tell time.
Exactly. Function, not status. Same with clothes. The typical self-made millionaire, their most expensive suit cost around $360.
Okay. And what about people who inherited wealth?
They reported spending over $600 on average for their top suit. It's a noticeable difference.
Suggests a different need, maybe to signal that wealth?
Could be. Or maybe just different habits passed down. But think about the self-made folks. Do they always need the expensive suit?
Well, I was going to ask that. What if you're in sales or a lawyer? Don't you need to look successful to attract clients?
That's the trap, isn't it? That's what the UAWs, the under-accumulators, often fall into. We'll get more into that status burden later, but for many self-made millionaires, especially business owners in those dull, normal fields.
Like Johnny Lucas, the janitorial contractor example.
Right. Who does he need to impress? His clients care about reliable service, not his suit label, and maybe his employees, but a $2,000 suit might actually make them uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
A practical, well-made suit works. Anything more is just waste.
And they're smart shoppers, too, you mentioned. Not just cheap, but value conscious.
Very much so. Like 30.4% of them hold a JCPenney credit card.
JCPenney.
Yeah. And it's not random. Apparently, stores like Penny's, particularly their Stafford executive suits back then, got really good marks in Consumer Reports for quality and durability at a low price.
So they're optimizing. Best quality for the cost.
Finding the value, it extends to everything. Shoes. Half of millionaires never spent more than $140 on a pair. And the sources found that for every one millionaire who spent over $300 on shoes, there are at least 8 non-millionaires spending that much.
So people trying to look rich are the ones buying the super expensive shoes.
It seems that way. They're subsidizing the luxury market, trying to emulate the image, while the actual wealthy people are, comparison shopping for durable shoes.
And cars.
Mm-hmm.
This must be where the defense really shows up.
Oh, big time. Most millionaires drive American-made cars. Often they're not the current model year. And leasing. Almost unheard of among the serious accumulators.
Which is the total opposite of many high-income professionals, right?
Yeah.
Leasing is huge there.
Absolutely. And the sources break this down really well. They categorize millionaires into 4 types of car buyers, based on buying new versus used, and being loyal to a brand versus shopping around.
Okay, what are the types?
Well, you've got type 1, the new vehicle loyalists. They buy new, stick to one brand. Maybe they value convenience, reliability. Interestingly, this group actually has the highest average income.
But they're always taking that big depreciation hit by buying new.
Right. Good offense, maybe less defense on the car front. Then you have others who buy new but shop around, or buy used but stay loyal.
But type 4 is the key group for accumulation, you said.
Yes. Type 4, the used vehicle-prone shopper. About 19.5% of millionaires fall into this category, and they are masters of defense.
What do they do differently?
They are super price sensitive. They'll research for months. They often buy from private sellers to skip dealer markups. They treat buying a car like a serious financial decision, looking for a bargain.
And the thinking behind that is?
It's dead simple and practical. Let the first owner pay for the steepest part of the depreciation curve. Why should they? They just wait until the value drop slows down.
They see it purely as a depreciating asset and want to minimize the loss.
Exactly. They refuse to subsidize someone else's need for that new car smell.
And does this strategy actually show up in their net worth?
Massively. This type 4 group, even though their average income isn't the highest, they have the best ratio of net worth to income. $17.20 in net worth for every $1 of annual realized income.
17 times. That's incredible efficiency.
It really is. And it connects to everything else, these type 4 folks. They're also way more likely to shop at discount stores, use coupons, buy clothes on sale. It's a consistent pattern.
Optimize for accumulation, not for show.
That's the mantra.
Okay, so to really nail down this difference between the accumulators and the spenders, the sources give us a formula, right, for expected net worth.
Yeah, it's a really neat little tool. Simple but revealing. You take 1/10 of your age.
Okay, 1/10 age.
And multiply that by your total annual realized income before taxes.
Got it. Age times income divided by 10, that's what you should be worth, roughly.
That's the benchmark, yeah. And based on that, people fall into 2 camps. If your actual net worth is twice that expected number or more.
You're a PAW, prodigious accumulator of wealth.
Right. And if your net worth is half that expected number or less.
You're a UAW, under accumulator of wealth.
And the difference is stark. PAWs, on average, have at least 4 times the wealth of UAWs, even if they're the same age and earn the same income.
4 times, just based on habits.
It really highlights the power of behavior.
Yeah.
The classic example they use is Dr. North and Dr. South.
Okay, tell us about them.
Both physicians. High incomes, similar age, similar family situations, seemingly peers.
Hi.
But Dr. North, the PAW, has a net worth of $7.5 million.
Wow. Okay.
Dr. South, the UAW, has a net worth of $400,000.
Whoa. $7.5 million versus $400K. That's 18 times the wealth.
18 times. With similar incomes, it's all about the spending and saving habits.
And what was Dr. South doing with all that income?
Spending it. Him and his wife spent like a household earning twice what they actually made. There was no budget, no control.
Any specific examples?
Oh, yeah. Mrs. South apparently spent around $30,000 on clothes in 1 year.
$30,000 on clothes.
And they dropped over $40,000 a year on country club dues and related stuff.
40 grand just for the club? That's a huge chunk of income just gone for status, basically.
Right. It's a massive ongoing cost just to maintain that lifestyle. Dr. South is running flat out on a financial treadmill, just earning enough to pay for last year's choices. Almost nothing left over to invest.
Okay, so how did Dr. North manage to accumulate so much more?
Discipline. He operated with a detailed annual budget. He knew exactly where his money was going.
And that's typical for PAWs.
Very typical. 2/3 of the millionaires surveyed knew precisely how much they spent on food, clothing, shelter annually.
And the UAWs.
Yeah.
The high-income non-millionaires.
Only about 35% of them had that same level of awareness. If you don't track it, you can't control it, right?
Makes sense. You can't manage what you don't measure.
We even see this difference in, like, their credit cards. You'd assume wealthy people all have those fancy exclusive cards.
The platinum, the black cards?
But the data says otherwise. Millionaires were 4 times more likely to have a Sears card, 43% had one, than a Brooks Brothers card, which was only 10%.
Sears. Why Sears?
Well, remember, many are self-employed. They're buying tools, equipment, maybe appliances, practical stuff. It shows they prioritize utility and maybe store financing or discounts over the status symbol in their wallet. Only about 6% had an Amex Platinum.
It really is a different mindset, and this discipline takes effort, right? Like exercise.
That's the analogy they use, and it's perfect. People who are physically fit keep working out even if they look like they don't need to.
Right, maintenance.
And financially fit people, the PAWs, keep working on their finances. They spend, on average, 8.4 hours per month just planning their investments.
8.4 hours a month. That's over 100 hours a year dedicated just to planning.
Yeah. Now compare that to the UAWs. They spend only 4.6 hours a month on financial planning, about 55 hours a year.
Half as much.
Less than half. And here's the kicker. UAWs spend 3 times as much time exercising each month as they do planning their investments.
Wow. So they're prioritizing looking physically good now over being financially secure later.
Seems that way. And the ultimate UAW example is this guy, Teddy Friend.
Teddy Friend, okay.
He's 48, earns a great income, $221,000. His expected net worth should be over $1 million.
And his actual.
Less than a quarter of that. He's described as being possessed by possessions.
Like what?
6 cars, 2 leased, 2 country club memberships, the $5,000 watch, of course.
The full UAW uniform.
Pretty much. And his motivation is interesting. He actually uses debt as a motivator.
How did that work?
He takes on big mortgages, big payments intentionally. He thinks the fear of not being able to pay forces him to work harder, to keep up, to beat the people he grew up with.
Wow. Using fear and debt as fuel instead of saving and investing.
Right. But it means he can never slow down. He's always chasing the next commission to pay for the stuff he already bought. He never actually accumulates.
And this pattern can run in families, can it? The Teddy's parents example is wild.
Oh, the cigarette story. Yeah, it's powerful. His parents had modest incomes. They smoked like 3 packs a day between them for 46 years.
Okay, that adds up.
Over 46 years, it cost them maybe $33,000 or so in total. Seemed like a small daily expense, right? A few bucks here and there.
Yeah, you wouldn't think much of it day to day.
But if they had taken that exact same amount of money, the cigarette money, and invested it consistently in, say, tobacco stock over those 46 years.
Uh-oh. What would it be worth?
Over $2 million.
$2 million.
Yeah.
From cigarette money.
Yep. That one single change, turning a small daily consumption habit into a consistent investment, would have made them millionaires easily, despite their modest income.
That just shows the incredible power of compounding and the cost of small, unexamined habits over decades.
It really boils down to those small, consistent choices.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit to careers.
Mm-hmm.
There's a finding in the sources that really flies in the face of what we normally think about education and success.
Yeah, the career paradox. It's fascinating. Among high-income earners, people making over $100 K, there's actually a negative correlation between having advanced degrees like MDs, JDs, PhDs, and how much wealth they accumulate.
Wait, negative. So more education means less wealth. That sounds wrong.
Among high earners, yes, statistically. It's not that education is bad, obviously, but it often means a very late start.
Ah, okay, because doctors, lawyers, they spend years in school, residency.
Exactly. Racking up student debt, not earning, and critically not investing during what could be their prime accumulation years. Meanwhile, the person who maybe did some technical training or just started a business right out of school.
They've got a 10 or 15-year head start on earning and investing.
Right. Look at the Dr. Dokes versus Mr. Denzi example. Dokes was the valedictorian, went through all the medical training, started late. Denzi did 2 years of technical school, started working at 22, invested early, started his own business.
And 30 years later.
Denzi, the entrepreneur, had 5 or 6 times the wealth of Dr. Dokes, the physician.
Wow. So wealth accumulation really isn't about academic pedigree.
It rewards starting early, consistency, and control, much more than diplomas, it seems.
And these highly educated professionals, they often face that status burden you mentioned earlier.
Yes, big time. They feel immense pressure to look the part. The successful doctor needs the BMW, the lawyer needs the expensive suit, the fancy office.
To signal competence to clients and colleagues.
Exactly. But that signaling comes at a huge cost. It leads to incredibly high overhead, personally and professionally. They buy all the status symbols before they've actually built the wealth, draining their capital.
Whereas the PAW, if they buy luxury at all, does it after the wealth is secure.
Right, and living in those high-status neighborhoods, that's another huge trap, especially if you move there too early.
Trying to keep up with the Joneses or the Smiths who are already millionaires.
Precisely. It's much easier to afford that neighborhood after you're wealthy. If you move in while you're still building, you're forced to maximize your income constantly just to cover the mortgage, the property taxes, the club dues, the private school.
And the stats on income realization show this, right?
Clearly. Millionaires living in those fancy zip codes, they only need to realize about 6.7% of their wealth each year as income to cover their lifestyle.
Okay, very low, consistent with the overall millionaire stat.
But they're non-affluent neighbors in the same neighborhood, the ones trying to fit in. They have to realize over 40% of their total wealth as income each year just to stay afloat.
40%, that's living right on the edge. No margin for error.
None. Which leads directly to the home rule. This is a key piece of defensive advice.
What's the rule?
If you are not yet wealthy, never buy a home that requires a mortgage more than twice your household's total annual realized income.
Mortgage no more than 2x income.
So good.
Quite conservative compared to what banks often approve.
Way more conservative. Because over-leveraging on the house is one of the biggest killers of wealth accumulation for high earners. Remember Bob, the stockbroker earning $84K?
Yeah, he wanted the $310,000 house, way over the 2x rule.
Right, and he rejected the advice to buy cheaper because he didn't want to live near truckers and construction workers.
He prioritized perceived social status today over financial security tomorrow.
He traded accumulation for affirmation. And that kind of financial pressure, living on the edge, it breeds anxiety.
Makes sense. UAWs worry more.
Significantly more. About losing their jobs, 36%. Worry about that specifically. About having to cut back their standard of living. And, very telling, they worry about not earning enough to satisfy their family's spending habits.
The spending they created by trying to look rich.
It's a vicious cycle. Dr. South, the UAW doctor, worried about all those things. Dr. North, the PAW. Very few worries like that. He'd build a buffer.
And Dr. North's investment strategy was also different, wasn't it? More focused.
Yeah, he invested mainly in things he understood, medical stocks, agricultural land, areas related to his work or background. He acted as his own financial advisor.
So zero advisory fees.
Zero. Compare that to Dr. South. Small portfolio, less than $200 in stocks, but he paid over $35,000 in 1 year on fees and commissions.
35 grand in fees on a small portfolio.
Spread across 4 different brokerage firms. It shows a total lack of control, maybe chasing hot tips, churning the account, just terrible financial management.
Which brings us to how PAWs handle financial advice when they do seek it. They treat advisors like suppliers.
Exactly, not like gurus. The story of Mr. Martin, the self-made multimillionaire, is the ultimate example. The Martin method.
What did he do?
He got cold called by brokers all the time, right? So he'd tell them, okay, interesting. Send me your personal federal income tax returns for the last 3 years and a history of your personal investment portfolio.
He asked for the broker's own financials.
Yep. He'd say, if you've done better building wealth than I have, I'll consider investing with you.
Huh. And how many brokers actually sent him their documents?
0. Not 1.
Of course not.
But it's brilliant, right? It forces them to have skin in the game. Are they eating their own cooking? It's treating your household finances like a business. You vet your suppliers. You don't just trust a sales pitch.
Yeah, let's talk about another major factor, but this one is external. It's about help from parents. Economic Outpatient Care, or EOC.
Right. This is basically substantial financial gifts or, acts of kindness from affluent parents to their adult children or even grandchildren.
Sounds nice, but there's a danger.
A huge danger.
Yeah.
Because that EOC money, it almost always goes towards consumption, not investment. It props up a lifestyle the kids can't actually afford on their own.
So it masks the real financial situation.
Exactly. And the data is really stark here. The more cash gifts adult children receive, the less wealth they tend to accumulate themselves.
That seems backward. More money should mean more wealth, shouldn't it?
You'd think so. But look at Mary and Lamar. They earn $60K combined, but live like they earn $120K.
Ow.
Mary's parents subsidize everything. Paid the down payment on the house, help with the mortgage payments, give cash gifts every year.
Okay, so total EOC.
And look at their behavior. When Mary's parents give them gifts of stock, what do Mary and Lamar do? Nope. They sell the stock every 3 years or so to buy a new foreign luxury car. Just like
Mom does.
Exactly. They're learning and replicating the high consumption habits funded by someone else's money.
And this leads to that weird psychological thing, the montage effect.
Yeah, it's like the lines get blurred. The adult children receiving all this EOC, they start to struggle to tell the difference between their wealth and their parents' wealth.
They see the parents' money almost like it's their own income stream.
Right, to be spent. And they might even start thinking of themselves as self-made because, they have the nice house and car, even though it was heavily subsidized. The perception gets distorted.
And does this actually hurt their own earning and saving potential?
The numbers say yes. Take attorneys, for example. Those who received cash gifts from parents ended up with only about 62% of the wealth and earned only 77% of the income, compared to attorneys of the same age who didn't receive gifts.
So the safety net somehow makes them less successful professionally.
It seems to undercut the drive, the hunger, the discipline needed to reach the top levels. If you know mom and dad will bail you out or buy you the fancy car, maybe you don't hustle quite as hard.
But beyond the money, you mentioned a psychological toll, too.
Yeah, this is maybe even more important. Look at Mrs. BPF. Her parents gave her economic inpatient care, basically maximum support.
What did that involve?
They paid all the startup costs for her business. They let her live at home, rent-free, for years, so every penny she made could go back into the business. She was totally insulated from financial risks.
Okay, so the parents thought they were guaranteeing her success, removing all worry.
That was the goal. But the result? The exact opposite. Mrs. BPF, despite having zero personal financial risk in her venture, she had 4 times more major fears than typical self-made millionaire business owners.
4 times the fear. What was she afraid of?
Afraid of her standard of living dropping? Afraid her business would fail anyway? Afraid she wouldn't be wealthy enough to retire? All the things you'd think the insulation would prevent.
Wow. So the safety net actually made her more anxious. How?
The theory is that the struggle is what builds courage. Overcoming challenges, taking risks, and surviving, that builds resilience, financial fortitude. By removing all risk, her parents accidentally prevented her from developing that inner strength.
They shielded her from the process that creates confidence.
Exactly. She was left vulnerable to fear because she'd never had to truly conquer it herself.
And this EOC stuff, it can cause family problems too, right?
Oh, definitely. Resentment, dependency, conflict. Look at Mr. Andrews. He's a high-income UAW, brags about spoiling his daughters. His big financial plan involves his son, Billy.
What about Billy?
Billy is the responsible one, productive, self-sufficient. The plan is for Billy to buy the family business from Dad over time.
Okay, sounds reasonable.
But the profits Billy generates by working hard in that business, they're earmarked to be distributed to his sisters perpetually to fund their expensive lifestyle.
Wait, so Billy's work is basically forced EOC for his sisters?
Pretty much. Can you imagine the resentment that breeds? Between Billy and his sisters, probably between their spouses. It's a recipe for disaster.
So what's the takeaway for parents who actually want their kids to be independent and successful?
Don't just give them cash for consumption. Foster discipline, responsibility, reward achievement and independence, not dependence.
Like the example of Ken's dad.
Right. The dad was proudest that Ken never asked for money, that Ken sold his first small business to pay for his own education. That self-reliance was what got celebrated and reinforced. That's the PAW parenting model. #outro.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive. We've really peeled back the layers on what it actually takes to build wealth. And it's not what most people think, is it?
Not at all. Becoming a PAW, a prodigious accumulator of wealth, it's clearly not about just having the biggest paycheck or the fanciest degree or driving the flashiest car.
It really comes down to those 7 factors we talked about, doesn't it?
Yeah. You've got deep-seated frugality, consistently living below your means, meticulous planning and budgeting.
Prioritizing accumulation over just looking rich, focusing on businesses or investments you actually understand.
Plain old hard work and perseverance. And crucially, avoiding that dependence trap of economic outpatient care.
It feels like the single biggest obstacle, based on everything we've discussed, isn't a lack of opportunity, but that intense social pressure in our culture to look rich right now.
Absolutely. Too many people trade away their chance at long-term financial freedom. Waking up without crushing debt, without that constant financial anxiety, just for the short-term ego boost of a status symbol they probably can't truly afford.
And that point about fear was striking. The person who actually struggled and built it themselves, like Laura, starting her real estate business out of necessity.
Right. They end up with less fear and worry than the person who was heavily subsidized and protected from risk. That struggle, overcoming those financial hurdles, it builds genuine courage.
So maybe that's the thought to leave everyone with. Thinking about courage in your own financial life.
Yeah. What's that difficult thing, maybe uncomfortable thing that would move you towards real financial independence, but you've been putting it off?
Maybe it's finally making that budget. Or maybe it is downsizing the house or getting rid of that expensive leased car.
Whatever it is for you, that courageous choice, the one that probably feels the hardest right now, that's often the most important first step towards building real, lasting wealth.